We're on to the quadratic equations, and I think I need to pick my pace up just a little bit because bell will be ringing pretty soon. I got about 5 minutes to get this done. All right, so I look at number 7. It's in this first part of the quadratic equations, and what I notice right away is that it's not all on one side, so I have to get it there. So I minus the 24, and over here I get n squared minus 5n minus 24 equals 0. I then factor n minus 8 times n plus 3 equals 0. You know, again, this is meant to be more of a reminder than a wholly teach the system. So I'm not going to go through all of where this comes from. If you have more problems with this, you come and see me at Extra Help. Maybe it's the guy on the left. Maybe it's the guy on the right. Add 8 to both sides, n equals 8. Subtract 3 from both sides, n equals negative 3. So 8 and negative 3 are the correct solutions. Okay? Again, factor, solve. You're always going to end up reversing those roots, and so on. Now, number 8, I'll solve up here. And this gave kids a hard time. And listen, there are certain things that I just have to learn to accept a little bit better. But this is a really easy question. Unbelievably easy. Yet, kids struggle with it every single year. I must be the problem. It's not that hard. You should recognize that they share a common factor of x. You pull out the x. That leaves me with 7x minus 9 equals 0. Now, in the beginning, I would have blamed it more on me, but now I really don't blame it as much on me because I say to you, maybe it's the guy on the left. The guy on the left is the x. X equals 0. Then maybe it's the guy on the right. 7x minus 9 equals 0. And then we solve. We add 9 to both sides. 7x is 9. Divide by 7. And I get x is 9/7. And then I go look in the answer space, and this is what kids write. Oh, it's this one. Now, every year I say to the kids, you can't forget the 0. You must put the 0 in there. I say it time and time and time again. We do pretests. I show them to you on the pretest. Don't forget the 0. And inevitably, on at least 8 or 10 papers in the 2 classes, kids do not put the 0. All they put is 9/7. You have to put both answers, otherwise it's not correct. Number 9, pretty straightforward. It asks what are the roots. You can use the calculator, graph it, you can look at the table, or you can just solve, which is what I'll do. I'm going to get x minus 5 times x plus 4 equals 0. Maybe it's the guy on the left. Maybe it's the guy on the right. Adding 5 to both sides. X equals 5 minus 4 to both sides. X equals negative 4. Always be careful about just assuming that you reverse the roots, minus 5 here, plus 5 there, plus 4 here, minus 4 there. Because if there's a number in front like the 7, it's not quite so simple. That's why I take the time to show you that step. All right, next up. Use the quadratic formula to solve the equation. So a is 1. A is the number in front of the x squared. B is negative 6. It's the number in front of the x. Remember what I just said, because we're going to come back to that. B is the number in front of the x. And C is the number at the end. So, quadratic formula, x is negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. X is, now b is negative 6, so the negative of negative 6 is 6 plus or minus the square root of negative 6 squared is 36 minus 4 times 1 times negative 4. All over a is 1, so 2 times 1 is 2. So this is going to be 6 plus or minus the square root of. Now, some kids seem to be distributing here. No. This is multiplication. There's no symbol in between two things. It's just negative 4 times 1 times negative 4, which is plus 16. And 36 plus 16 over 2, which is 6 plus or minus the square root of 52 over 2. And now I need to simplify the square root of 52, which is the big step up between this test with quadratic equation and the last test of quadratic formula. You have to recognize the biggest perfect square that divides into 52 is 4. The list of perfect squares, 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, etc. I always take the top end and look down. The first one that goes into it is 4. So I get square root of 4, square root of 13. What is the square root of 4? It's 2. So that gives me 6 plus or minus 2 radical 13 over 2, then divide 2 into all of those terms, and I get 3 plus or minus square root of 13. And that's my correct answer. I should write x equals 3 plus or minus the square root of 13. Okay? Next, Kenny is given the graph of this equation. He wants to find the zeros of the function. The big thing about this one, and this is where kids messed up, b is equal to 0. That's the biggie. There is no x term. And we said before that b was the number in front of the x. So a is a half. That's actually easy. B is 0, and c is negative 5. So over here with the quadratic formula, which I am not going to rewrite, x equals, I don't need to put a b term because it's 0. So I'm going to get plus or minus the square root of 0 squared is just 0. Then I'm going to do minus 4 times a half. I'm going to write that over here because I don't have room. Minus 4 times a half times c, which is negative 5. And 4 times a half is 2, so I get negative 2 times negative 5, and that works out to be 10, over 2 times a half, which is just 1. So the answer is plus or minus radical 10. You just got to be careful that it's not possible to simplify the radical. Like if it was radical 12, I could have divided radical 4 into it. But plus or minus radical 10 is there. Okay? All right, so this is the second section of the pretest. I think that's all the questions. Bring them to me and I'll check it out, and then we'll approve you to go further.